Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. I have with me today a guest, and it is one of my good friends who I have known for a few years now. I have with me Jetta, and we actually met each other in a coaching program a few years ago. It has to be like at least 3 years ago now. Um, Back when I was still doing fitness coaching. Things have changed a lot since then. And yeah, things have changed a lot.
Yeah,
But
we
Jetta,
met.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. I'm very excited that you brought back the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like you are just so aligned with with going against the grain when it talks when like everything is about like building your business but a sustainable one. Like
Hmm.
you're the person. For the community with Tara's community, I just want you guys to know that we met 3 years ago. I've had a business for 3 years. I have an online practice. I'll introduce myself in a second, but I just want to like give props to you, Tara, because when we first met and we were
Hmm.
in that big group. It was like what, over 80 people? I felt
Oh, at least there
invisible.
was so many. There was probably more
So
than that.
many.
It was probably like 200, I would say. There's a lot
Oh my
in that
gosh.
group. Yeah. Like, I just don't think everyone was really like engaged in it. So it
Oh,
probably
absolutely
seemed like
not.
less, but I think, yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
So what's wild is that when you would like be asking questions and everything, I was like, I need to know who this girl is. Like, she seems like she knows what she's doing. I was like, I have
Yeah.
no idea. I've never done anything like this. I was like, I want to befriend her. And truly, like, I just kept asking you questions. I was like, what are you seeing with because you were doing fitness. I was, I'm like, as I'm going to introduce myself, because I have not changed what I'm doing. I've
Mhm.
been doing the same thing for 3 years, um, which apparently is very, very rare these days. So
Yeah.
it just like goes to show how, like, it's so wild how when I first met you, Tara, I was like, this girl's gonna be doing something. I know it.
Hmm.
I know it.
Hmm.
So it's just so good to see you in your just full you.
Yeah.
Like this is what you were supposed to be doing. And I love it. So, okay. Hi. Hi, I'm Jetta. I'm a gut health practitioner and certified nutritionist, specializing in chronic illness. And in my world, we actually put a lot of importance on what's in your plate and less importance on your pills and supplements, meaning that I do not push pills and supplements. It's nutrition first, nutrition based healing of chronic illness and chronic symptoms. So that's what I do.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation when we get into that part of it because I can come in like with my nursing background and we've had so many discussions about this
Yes.
and it not in the way that I'm against what you do at all. I think that
Hmm.
it's amazing because there is not enough of an emphasis on this in traditional medicine.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
the nutrition that's actually in hospitals and things like that is absolute shit. Like it
Hmm.
is so awful.
Hmm.
And so I think what you do is really, really important.
Thank you. Thank you. It
Yeah.
was it took me a hot minute to get to the point of fully embracing the fact that I don't do supplements and I actually want to
Hmm.
reduce your supplements and I want to reduce your pills naturally, right? Like it took me a minute. And I feel like that stops us from seeing the success that we are all really looking for in our business and in our lives
Yeah.
because we are just pushing back against the thing that we feel in our heart and soul that this is what we were meant to do. And I feel like to be an entrepreneur, of any entrepreneur, whether you're creative, whether you're like, a photographer, a painter, whether you're in wellness, whether you are a business coach, whether, you know, whatever your jam is, I'm learning that success is just the idea. It's the
Hmm.
idea that you make it, and
Yeah.
you and me have had so many conversations about what success looks like. And one of the
Hmm.
things for me, since we met, I told you I'm not living in the US. I'm going to
Yeah.
move to Romania since we met.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because now we're about to move in like 2-ish, 3-ish months.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think of like there's such the vision of why I started my online practice is completely different now.
Hmm.
Once I started it, you know what I mean? And I think just in order to, you do systems now, and I
Yeah.
know that that's the thing, that's your jam, that's your thing. Like I knew
Yeah.
that from the get-go, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, because wholeheartedly that's who you are as a person. You're
Hmm.
organized, you're like, right? And I think that even goes to say that you speak to so many people, Tara, because you also have ADHD, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you know how to do that with ADHD and you don't let it define you, right? So
Yeah.
like those are the things of like building a business and like what success is just the comparison is so real, and comparison helps up to a point.
Yeah.
I was talking to my husband last night, and like we were talking about illness. Actually, we were talking about illness, we were talking about maha, right? Make America healthy again, right? We were talking about these things, and
Yeah.
we were talking about how maha is still big pharma. It's still big pharma because you Western medicine includes how our system is built, right? That's Western medicine. And you can be like, no, Western medicine is like hospitals and vaccines and this and that.
Yeah.
But if that were true, if it stopped just at vaccines and pills, well then why all of a sudden are we just hyped up that, red dye 3 was banned? Dude,
Yeah.
that thing has been on our shelves in our makeup and in so many things that we have in our household for over 100 years.
Well,
And
and
we're
everyone's like, this isn't a new thing that people started talking
absolutely not.
about. That's
Right,
what I don't get. Like, people have been
right,
talking about this for a super long time. Like, hello, where have you been?
right, right. And so we were talking about that, and I was like, I don't like to, I don't want to feel like, I'm above anybody else, right? Like, I
Hmm.
really don't want to feel
Yeah.
that. I don't want to seem like that. And
Hmm.
what I'm about to say may make it feel like that, okay? Like, I'm not gonna lie, okay? But because I have the comparison of I lived in Spain and I
Hmm.
see how people live, and it's possible to have a good economy. It's
Yeah.
good. It's possible out there to have siesta time, and siesta time is a very real thing in Spain, by the way, people. They take it very
Yeah.
seriously. Even the banks
Which is
are
nuts.
closed.
Yeah.
The banks, you gotta pay a bill, you gotta do something.
You gotta
Do it
wait.
after siesta time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's nuts, right? Like it's so serious there. But also, if Maham is not part of Big Pharma, let's say it's not, why then no one in this program, in this governmental party, if you will, okay? Why is nobody talking about these food deserts? Why are we not fixing that? Why are we not making it more accessible to actually have parks to walk around? I
Hmm.
live in a very decent area, okay? I currently live in Michigan. Like I said, we're about to move to Romania. I live in a very okay area. Like it has apparently the best schools, which I don't agree, but whatever. Is the bar set that low type of thing? Okay.
Yeah.
But whatever. We homeschool, all that stuff. But apparently it's a great area. Okay.
Yeah.
I live in a subdivision that is only 4 streets like together. Okay. Four.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have sidewalks.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we have sidewalks? Why don't we don't even have a night, like those lights, the lights in the night. What are they called? The,
Hmm.
you know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
we
They're
don't
like
even
the
have
street
that.
lights.
The
Yeah.
street lights. We don't even have that on our streets, on any of the streets. But
Oh, I can answer
apparently,
this fast.
yeah,
It doesn't make them money.
it doesn't make them money, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like if Maha wants to make America healthy again, if we are sitting here and we're like, okay, like Jetta, you want to help people, you want to make an impact on people by,
Hmm.
lowering their supplements and lowering their pills, but like, how do you do that? Because here's what I've been taught. and this is like kind of like the main point that I want to get to is that that's why it took me a long time to really stand in my
Mhm.
power and say, man, I do actually have the education to do this.
Yeah.
And I also am a fellow chronic illness warrior to where I've literally done it on myself and I'm continuing to do it on myself. And
Mhm.
am continuing to see the results. So that I think speaks more volume than saying, oh, I took a supplement or, I'm on a regimen and for 6 months I felt great. And then after that, I was actually really reliant because then I felt worse.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so the
Well,
six, yeah.
and I think that it's so important to point out that you do have the education. You do research on this all of the time. This is
Yeah.
not you just like talking about this because there's so many people that, well, not so many, but there are people that will tell you that different things will cure diabetes or will,
Hmm.
and it's bullshit and it's
Hmm.
really, really unsafe. And like, you can't listen to that shit because that can get you in massive trouble. And like,
Yeah.
I have seen it. I worked in the ICU. People die from that shit.
Hmm.
That, on the other hand, is not okay. You
Right.
really have to be aware of like who you're listening to when you actually go and are trying to find these things because yeah, there are 100% there's people like you who can help people do these things and implement the right things in order to get off of supplements and
Yeah.
reduce the pills that you're taking. And then there are people who have no idea what the hell they're doing and just spew shit out of their ass.
Right, right. And that's ultimately the impact that I want to make on
Hmm.
people, in this world. Like if I die tomorrow, Tara, like I just want people to know like that's what I want to do. That's what I want
Yeah.
to do. I want to help people see the truth that truly truly our body is created to a perfection and it just we need to understand that we are failing it, not it is failing us,
Yeah.
And so that's the impact. And when we have that,
Hmm.
okay, so coming back to this conversation with my husband, I was like, I'm glad that I have that comparison because had I
Yeah.
not had that comparison, I was already on my journey
Yeah.
to. I went to Wayne State. I went to Wayne State University here in Detroit, and I studied gut and neurodevelopment from womb to death, right? And I studied, like, if I could explain it to, like, I have a 6-year-old and almost a 4-year-old, which is, oh my God, that's so wild, Tara.
I have a 15 and a half year old and a 9-year-old.
Oh my Lord. Oh my
We're
Lord.
gonna
I said
be
that out loud and I was like,
we're
what?
gonna be driving in a couple months and I'm terrified.
Oh my
Can
God.
you can you help me, please?
I'm
SOS,
gonna send prayers because I'm not even
please.
ready for that. My children are nowhere near that. And I'm biting my
I
nails
know.
already. Like,
I know.
uh,
I'm not okay. Just side note
You
here.
know,
Yeah.
the moms that are looking at their sons and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be the mother-in-law, of on my son's side. Like I'm not ready. I'm not ready." And my
No,
my child is a whole 6 years old.
I know. I know. I'm like, no, Sebastian definitely, he's had girlfriends and stuff, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's not do that anymore.
let's not do that. Mm-mm. Nope.
No,
You're not
no,
you're not
no,
allowed until you
no.
get married.
Yeah, no. No more of
Oh,
this. 30, 30.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Anyways.
anyways, welcome to our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but we were talking about like the comparison and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And we were talking about that had I not had that comparison, maybe I wouldn't have been as gung ho as I
Hmm.
am now. And that's initially what, I was like, okay, I actually could do this
Well, you can see that
because,
it's possible.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like so many people stop the success of their business.
Hmm.
They change so many things around so
Hmm.
often that they don't leave enough time
Hmm.
for enough rumination, if you will, in their business
Yeah.
to actually then see, the fruit of their work.
Yeah.
And as as being part of the wellness world in social media, right? Like as doing that, I see so many people shift, 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 shift. And I think about this on the exterior lens of like, I'm watching you do this. Like, I'm watching you do this. I got front row because I follow you on social media, right?
Mhm.
And there's a person that we actually did that the program together, the program that you and I did together. There's someone specifically, she's going to remain anonymous because, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go into like Instagram jail or whatever, but she's going to remain anonymous. But there is someone out there that we did the program with, and about like what, 2 months ago, I think you and I have had this discussion. 2 months ago, she doesn't have any, she's not a practitioner, she has no schooling on the gut microbe, on the gut brain connection, none of that. She has 133,000 followers, and she recently changed her bio and recently started shifting her content into gut health coach.
No, we didn't talk about this. You have to tell me
No?
what this is
Okay.
because I can't think of who it is. But so you have to tell me. Now I'm curious.
So the thing
That,
about
yeah,
that,
that annoys the hell out of me.
it doesn't annoy me as much as because I knew, and that's the thing that personally hurts the industry itself, is that
Hmm.
this person used to be vegan and now she isn't vegan because she had a lot of illnesses. So then she started eating meat and now she's a gut health coach.
Mm.
So going through those phases, and because I followed her, I unfollowed her the minute that she changed that. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm-mm. You don't get to
Hmm.
diminish my, it's equal to 6 years of schooling and I did it in four, plus all my
Yeah.
certifications that I continue to get. You don't get to
Hmm.
diminish that, right? With your 133,000 followers.
Yeah.
And the thing is because of the algorithm, because of social media, I
Yeah.
see her content from time to time. And she recently posted on how she's doing a detox and she's selling supplements now. So now I guess she's not a
No.
coach, I guess. Maybe she's an influencer now. I'm not sure. I'm not here to judge. All I'm saying is that success is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so when I
Yeah.
think about this, and it's like when I go to sleep, Tara, when I put my head on that pillow, I'm
Hmm.
at peace. I may
Hmm.
not have 133,000 followers. I got
Hmm.
a little over 2,000, but I always say this, my community is small but mighty, and I'm
Oh yeah.
obsessed with my community. I'm
I
obsessed
know.
with my referral rate. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. That's what keeps me going. For there's always going to be clients that, miss a call or they don't want to do the work or whatever. You're always
Yeah.
going to have that. I mean, we can't control people. We
Yeah.
just try to help them, right? And lead them, to their goal or their intention,
Hmm.
right? But ultimately, when you build a business, when you're an entrepreneur, right? It's like I'm here to do the right thing, and sometimes that doesn't get the big pay. It doesn't get the big
Yeah.
pay, meaning like money, right? Like
Yep.
it sometimes it doesn't. That's the facts. But
Hmm.
it's so
Yeah.
different when you are saying, this is actually a prayer that I say every morning before I start like doing client work, before I start to check in. I just say, Father, bless my business so I can bless others. And that's it.
Hmm.
That's that. It's like just make it to where I am, it's a flow of income to where
Hmm.
I have a team, right? I have a team. Um, I'm gonna start doing the intensive with you, right? Like
Yeah.
there are things that I can do that it's
Yeah.
flowy. It's like, oh, okay, right now this is what my business is. I'm flexible with it, but it's not scarcity, right? It's not
Yeah.
that. And because of that, that's how we got to saying, I'm gonna stand in my power. This is how I'm going to help people. And therefore, this is how I can impact people. And because I'm impacting people and because I'm at peace, when I talk to my clients, when I'm doing my own podcast episodes, I'll tell you something. I'm going to go on a little rant. When
Yeah.
I start
Go.
doing these things and I feel at peace when everything is in flow, it's funny because there's a difference between pushing ourselves and
Hmm.
organizing ourselves.
Yep.
Right. And so when everything is in flow, when everything is, you're like, okay, well, here are the systems that I have in place. Here are the things that, I really like about my business. Here's what I like doing. Here's what I
Hmm.
like about my business in, the personal side, right?
Yep.
I like that I can homeschool my kids. I like that we homeschool and then I get to work and then I'm again with my kids. Like that
Yep.
to me, mwah, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I need a break. The kids need a break, right? Like I love it. This is the life if when I was like 18, 19, when I was thinking like, wow, I'd really like to, have a family. When I started thinking about that, I was like, I definitely am the person that still needs to work. I am not the woman
Yes.
that
Not
like
just stay at home mom. No, me too. I like was never like I could just be a stay at home mom. I couldn't do that. I don't know
I
what
wouldn't
I
I
would go
wouldn't mentally be
crazy.
okay.
No, no, neither would I. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mentally be okay.
Yeah,
And
no.
that can be like a whole nother subject
And like
itself.
that's
But
totally fine if that's other
exactly.
people. Like I get that. That's fine, but that's not
Exactly.
not me.
Exactly. 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 So it's like, yeah, you create this vision in your head that you're like, okay, yes, like this is what I like to do, right? So then, things start to get flowy at every single thing that we're new at. We're gonna
Mhm.
suck at it. That's the truth. We're gonna suck at it.
Oh yeah.
We're not gonna know. We're not gonna,
Yeah.
that's why there is, coaches and mentors and
Yeah.
people that do these things. I'm a full advocate for investing not just in yourself for your health and for your wellness, because obviously, duh, but
Yeah.
also the fact of like, if you there's so many puzzle pieces, and
Mhm.
sometimes, when we make a puzzle, sometimes we just need the edges, and then we
Yeah.
put the puzzle pieces in the middle. Like those edges, it's like who you are as a person, what do you want your business to actually do for
Yeah.
you and for others, right?
Yeah.
It's like those
Yeah.
are the edges, and then you put the little pieces in the middle. And many times the pieces on the edges is hiring a mentor. It's figuring out, are your kids going to be homeschooled or not? Like those are honestly the pieces.
Yeah.
And so many people are not putting that as a piece to their business
I
because
know.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just think it's so interesting because so often and I think it's the messaging in the online space because it's
Yes,
so directed towards money, 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 money. That's
exactly.
always the focus. It's never, how is this going to impact your life?
hmm
What
Because
can you do with your life outside of this? What are you actually like? How are you making an impact with your business? And that's what I always talk about. And I think that that is so huge. And I can't even, but it is unreal what I have been able to do in my life because
yes,
of my business. And it has
yes.
nothing to do with money.
Amen. Amen.
Like,
And the ironic part of this is so coming back to this flow, right?
mhm,
When things are in flow, when you're like, oh yeah, like this is how I want to build my day. This is how, like, it may sound silly, right? Because like I grew up in a household where like it was silly. It was straight up silly to like journal or, whatever.
yeah,
And I didn't have a safe place. To me, it was like I would write down in my journal. I've journaled since I can remember,
yeah,
since I could write cat, hat, bat. I
yeah,
journaled,
yeah,
right? Like in whatever
yeah,
way I journaled, I'm a big fan of it. Okay.
yeah,
Sometimes it's one word journal. Sometimes I'm like, love. The next day,
yeah.
what in the world? Right.
Fuck
But it's
this
like,
shit.
yeah, right. Like sometimes
It's
you just gotta let it out, right? But sometimes it's like filled with pages and ideas, and sometimes
yeah,
I'm sketching, whatever, right? And
yeah.
it helps me. But I realized through these edges of this puzzle piece, I realized how, especially when you have a chronic illness, is that I also don't want to, I want to practice what I preach. So that would actually mean that I also have to, or get to, not have to, I get to
Hmm.
move my body. So now
Hmm.
in the calendar that you see behind me over here, I got written on the days at the bottom of the days I have gym AM,
Mm-hmm.
walk AM,
Yep.
right? It's like
Oh
those
yeah.
are the things because again it just comes back to that is that yes, it does help me, therefore it helps you, meaning my
Mm-hmm.
clients, right? And in my community that I serve. So when we do that, we're really getting now into the flow. So then when I started doing that, that was the puzzle piece that kind of helped me see the edges. And what I started doing is I started my own podcast a year ago, not this past September, the September before, right? So we have like a year and 4 months, right, of
Mm-hmm.
podcasting. And when I started it, I was like, yeah, like we're going to do one every other week. And that was not sustainable, which I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's where like what you do is
Yeah.
super important, right? I was like, that's not sustainable. A, for my mental health, B, for time, because
Mm-hmm.
we do not have the same 24 hours in a day. Like sometimes I feel like a day
Haha,
is,
that's the biggest joke of all time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right? Sometimes I feel like one day is 50 hours long. Sometimes I feel like it's 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
And and
Yeah.
no 2 days are the same,
No.
right? So I'm like, okay, like what do I do? Because this is not sustainable. I wasn't in love with my podcast. I was
Yeah.
like, there's something here that like I like it. I like doing it. But the feeling of like pressing record and like, I was like, yeah, not ooh, what do I do? So thankfully, I switched OBMs. Mentor, see? Mentor. I switched OBMs and she does like systems and stuff too. But she also does like graphics and like stuff like that. So absolutely
Mhm.
love her. Shout out to Courtney. If you're listening to this.
Yes.
But but she was the person that really helped me see that my business is not the center. That's not my baby. It's not my center.
Yeah.
My baby are my babies, right? My
Yeah.
my baby is my body, right? Like those are the things that really are priority. And so if podcasting needs to take a back seat, if
Mhm.
you need to, figure out what you want to do for your podcast, right? Like we
Yeah.
went down these rabbit holes and then I was like, I don't want to do any
Yeah.
of that. I just feel like it's just really hard to record every other week. And she's like, so then why don't you just record when you have a really solid
Exactly.
podcast like idea? And I
Yep.
was like, what?
I know. But we don't allow ourselves to do these things. I talk to clients about this all the time. These are the conversations, even though I do systems and automations, these are the conversations that we have more often than not because
Yeah.
it's allowing ourselves these things that we think that we can't and giving ourselves grace on these things that we think that we're not supposed to be doing because
Mm,
we see our businesses as like this thing that has to be this certain way and we see how
right.
everyone else is apparently doing it. You have no fucking clue how anyone
You
else
have
is
no
running
idea.
their business.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
no idea. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to take time off because you're feeling burnt out,
Yep.
take time off. Who cares? Like your business is still going to be there.
Oh yeah.
Like nothing's happening here.
Oh
If
yeah.
you can't post for a week, don't post.
I didn't post for 2 months, Tara, from the end of November, right before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
until January 9th or something.
Yeah. And
Like
what happened?
I didn't post. I would show up on Insta like on stories
Yeah.
maybe once a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes also weeks went by and I was like I just need a mental break. I just need a mental
Yeah.
break. Nothing happened. In fact,
Exactly.
I had two new people order their
Yeah.
HTMA test, in fact.
Like
So, yeah. Yeah.
it's, we put so much pressure on ourselves to have to do this a certain way and have to constantly be on, and you got to loosen some of it.
Yeah, we're not robots.
No,
Your kids aren't robots. You're
no.
not you're not a robot. Your husband is not a robot. No one is a robot. And I
No.
dare to say this as well. Like, okay, so coming back to this flow of like, wait, I can just press record like whenever I have a really impactful and really valuable
Yep.
thing that like I want to talk about. Yes. The funny part about that is
Yep.
that when I started doing that, that
Hmm.
was actually how I began to do other things in not just my business, but also in my life.
Yep.
Right. So, like, we used to go to story time. Okay. Another great example. We used to go to story time at the library. So cute. So good. My kids absolutely love the little, they do like little exercises along with the story, right? They do
Hmm.
like, the magnets and find the mouse and do, they do the things. Okay. It's so cute. So good. And it felt very like when I would come home, quickly feed the kids, and then get going on work.
Hmm.
And I was like, I literally feel way more anxious than I should be because I just feel
Yeah.
like we just had such a great morning. It was such a slow morning. I was like, what is happening here that I'm like, whoa, like you must go do this. You must go do. I was like, what is happening? And
Hmm.
so we slowly let go of story time and I felt so much guilt. I was like, oh my gosh, we missed story time again. Oh my gosh, da 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 da. And it wasn't on purpose. Like we would just start missing it because
Hmm.
we would have a slow morning and then we would do like when we would go to story time, we would do our first part of our homeschooling, which is typically like games, like stuff like that, right? We do that kind of thing where we're engaging with each other, right? We're
Hmm.
being with each other. And then we would go to story time, then we would come back, and then we would do like lunch or a snack. And then if we did like my kids, like I said, they're 6 and almost 4, right? And so it was at a point where then we do the second half of like coloring or matching or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Or like an arts and crafts, right? Like it would get to that point and I would be trying to multitask of doing
Yeah.
that and also answer my clients and I was like I was like this is
Too
so
much.
much right now.
Yeah. Yep.
And I had to be like, okay, is it me? Is it me? Like, why is this not flowing anymore? Why do I feel bad about this? Why am I trying to multitask? Why am I trying to do these things? Wow, business is really hard. And it's like, you said, as we started like missing some of the story time, we started doing story time, you know? And we
Hmm.
would change the way that we would do homeschooling if my kids are like, if they want to sit and listen and, give me feedback on a story, right? Because we like conversate, right? If they want to do that and I feel that they want to, then we do that. And if not, then we play games. And we let it go to the point, like time wise, we let it go on. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. And I'm like, I love how flowy this is now. And no
Hmm.
one is freaking out.
Yeah.
No one is. So that's what I'm saying. Like when we create the flow in our business and we're like,
Hmm.
this is just a lot. It's just a lot, right? Homeschooling, having your own online practice, you're a wife, we're moving, right? Like you
Yeah.
have all these things. And my husband always says, we can only hold with two hands.
Hmm.
We can only hold with two hands. We're not an
Yep.
octopus. That's what he says. Get rid of your six hands. That's what he says.
Exactly.
Get rid of your six hands, man. Like,
Yeah. That's like such a good thing too when we're talking about like comparing that to like the systems and automations in your business too. You can't do everything. Like it's so true because it's that and also these like just rules that we put on ourselves. And I think that so many people forget that like you're your own boss. You get to do whatever the hell you want. Like no
and
one's telling you.
that's not to say because you know what my initial thought is when I first heard that. When I first
Mhm.
heard that,
I bet
my
I know.
initial thought was, well, if I'm my own boss, then like, and if I don't stick to a
Yeah,
schedule, if I don't
not gonna
stick
do it.
to it, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. Oh my gosh, that is so not it. You are
No.
going to do it because you originally started
Mhm.
your business doing the right thing. You're not scamming people. You're
Exactly.
not, that's why you're going to do it.
Hmm.
because you are so centered and so aligned with serving people and doing whatever it is that you may be doing. You're so aligned with it that you're like, I'm so excited to do it,
Hmm. And it works for you. When
and it
it
works
works
for
for
you.
you, you're gonna do it.
You're going to do it. And then because of that, your
Hmm.
clients get massive results because you have
Exactly.
conviction in what you are doing.
Yeah.
And therefore, they feel it and they know it. And it's an exchange of knowledge. It's an exchange of knowledge at that point. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, this is such a dread, to
Yeah.
do a call or to check in. Like it's truly not a dread. I'm like, oh my gosh, hold on. I just have an idea. Like
I
I have a
know.
client right now who she has goal sludge and she wants to start doing heavy weightlifting. And I was like, girl, you are talking to the person that moved from the US to Spain for love and then lived there jobless, like literally relying on a man to live, and it all worked out for me. I'm a hopeless romantic. You're talking to this girl. I was like, I say do it. There's a way to do
Hmm.
it. Let's do it. And it's
Yeah.
exciting for me because now I'm like, oh my gosh, I am about to give this client like so much help in pivoting and tweaking her nutrition and her habits that
Yeah.
she's gonna be like, oh my gosh, wait, like I got goal surge, I got this, and I can still do heavy weightlifting. She wants to do, competitions. And I'm like, girl, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's where that starts.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's just like redefining what we think your business has to look like or your day has to look like.
Yep.
It's all of this because there's too much, and we've talked about this so many times. There's too much shit online, and
Yeah.
that's the problem. And I mean, I've told you this before. I really don't follow a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
because I don't need to hear it. And the only reason that I see some of the stuff that goes on is because other people send it to me. Some of
Mm-hmm.
it, like I will see on threads because the algorithm there is weird. So you
Correct.
see like other people's stuff that you're not following and you can't really like,
Unsee it.
well, and I guess I could like block them on there, but I don't care. I just scroll past it. It's whatever. But
Right.
like I just don't follow this shit and I do what
Mm-hmm.
I want and that's why it works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's when your business is going to work. It's not by following all of these other fucking stupid ass things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you feel like you have to fit into some weird ass box that someone else is making.
When we go to the doctors, and we're like, well, I went to this doctor and they told me this, and then I went to another doctor and then they told me this. Like, that's a perfect example of why we need to figure out what works for us
Hmm.
because they all fit in a box. And you're
Hmm.
not meant to fit in a box.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. The
Yeah.
same thing.
And I mean, sometimes, yeah, you're going to have to go and find out what's going on. But it's funny that you say that because my best friend is actually, she has been going through it with
Mm.
doctors and trying to figure out what in the hell is going on with her and getting a million different answers and like
Yep.
no one can give her straight answers. And it's so interesting because so often we're told that we don't even understand our own body, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that possible? You
Mm.
do understand your own body and you understand what's right for your own business. It's the same thing.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Isn't
there
that wild?
it is.
Everything has a cycle. Our bodies have a cycle. Our business has a cycle. The world has a cycle. Everything is, what is the word? Cyclical? What is the word I'm looking for?
Cyclical.
Cyclical. Thank you. Yes. Everything is. When we understand that and we flow with our body, we flow with nature, we flow with the phases in our business, it's like, cool. All right. When it's go time, it's go time. When it's rest time, it's rest time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not always about just, pushing as hard as we can and whatever. That's just
Yep.
it.
Yep. Moving to Romania, like I just want to like touch back on this because I
Yeah.
think this is another thing too, is that for me, I don't speak for everybody. I'm just gonna speak for me in this instance. Okay. If 3 years ago I was like, okay, fine. I will start my own business. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it, right?
Mhm.
If Not if, I should say, when I started my business, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, cool, right? I hired a mentor. That's where I met you. We went into her other program, and I was like, something weird here is happening.
Yeah,
So
we
then we
got
left
out of
that
that.
mentor. Yeah, yeah. Okay, like just for everybody to know, like we have both been part of a business coach that you can make $100,000 a year by working 10 hours a week. And you and I both fell so hard, so hard. Like our foreheads hurt
It's
how far and how hard we fell. But oh my gosh, it was so liberating leaving.
bullshit. Oh God. Oh, it was bad. It was so bad. But then behind the scenes, I was helping people with systems and automations because
Right.
that was definitely not happening because they just didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work only 10 hours a week in your business, you're definitely going to have systems and automations in place.
Systems, you're
That
gonna
was
have to hire
stupid.
people. You're gonna
Yeah,
like, okay, again,
so
like
dumb.
it is possible. Unless you're using like mommy and daddy's money or you're married to like a gajillionaire. Like, yes, you could work 10 hours a week and then hire
Yeah,
a team
yeah.
right away. Yeah, yes. Were you and I in that situation? Absolutely not.
Well, and the other thing is, if you also have clients that you're on calls with,
Mm.
um, then you can't have more than 10 clients that have an hour-long calls. And then that's all that you're doing. And you do nothing else in your business. Well, that's bullshit.
And also,
Like
okay, can I
none of it
just like
makes sense.
it
None of
like
it.
the math ain't mathing. You know
None.
what's funny about this is that I was thinking about this not too long ago. That I was like, the way because I'm moving to Romania, we're gonna get to this in
Mhm.
a second. Um, but because Romania is 7 hours ahead of Michigan, 8 hours ahead of Central Time, 9 hours ahead of Pacific, right? That's literally day and night difference.
Mhm.
Literally, right? People are waking up, I'm about to go to sleep, type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, I was like, wow, I have to really shift my business. And because we knew we were moving in 2025, because PSA, a goal is nothing unless you write down the plan to get there.
Yeah.
Just PSA.
Action towards it. Yep.
And you need to make the steps
Yeah.
to work towards it and actually do the action. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we knew that 2025, early 2025, that's when we're doing it. 3 years ago, that's what we put in our heart and our mind. 3 years ago, okay, for everybody, a little backstory. 3 years ago, we were renting a 2 bedroom, very small apartment. Like the entire apartment was probably as big as my kitchen and my living room now. Okay. And we
Hmm.
did not know how in the world we're going to do this. My husband actually invested 20,000 in Bitcoin and then lost it all because my husband was like, that's the way we're going to do it. Right. And then
I
he lost it
remember
all.
that.
Yeah. So
I
we're
remember
like,
that.
cool.
Shit. Mhm.
What do we do now?
Right.
And also like the 20,000 was from our savings that we've had because when we moved from Spain, we created a savings because we're like, God forbid something happens to us in America and we're not going to have money and America doesn't work like Europe, all that stuff.
Yeah. And then Bitcoin was supposed to be the savior. That was not.
It was not.
Whoops.
So
Well, we live and we learn.
we
So,
live and we learn. Exactly. So I was like, okay, that ain't it, you know.
no.
And and then the pandemic happened. So we came back to the States. So me and my husband, we are both from Romania. We lived in Spain. I lived also in the US for majority of my life. But I was born in Romania, raised super, super boater, super, super Balkan, if you will. Like I always say, like Bulgarian, Serbian, like those are my brothers and sisters because we are all the same, right? Albanian, Macedonian, like we are all the same. Ukrainian, brother and sister. And so um I moved to Spain for love, and he lived in Spain for 16 years. And I always call my husband my Spanish boy because he is so much more Spanish than he is Romanian. And he's definitely nothing of America. Nothing. And so we
No.
moved.
No.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I am excited, Tara. We're gonna record a podcast episode together soon.
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
excited for people to hear his accent. I'm so excited.
I can't wait.
I'm
That's
so
hilarious.
excited to
Yeah.
like for people to see like when I say like we're foreign, we are
Oh,
foreign.
yeah.
Don't let my American,
No.
voice, don't let it fool you, okay?
Oh, I can't wait. That's good.
So that's what we're doing. So anyway, so we came 6 years ago. We came quote unquote back. I say back for me. 6 years ago, my husband moved here with me for the first time in America. And
Hmm.
we moved the year before the pandemic hit. And so the whole thing with Bitcoin happened, and we were like, how are we going to do this? And we ruminated on it. We sat on it. We're like, well, one thing's for sure. I was a gymnastics coach. I did gymnastics for my entire life. I was qualified to be on the junior Olympic team. Gymnastics is my thing, right? Like nutrition, gymnastics. These are a few things that like, when you think of Jetta, like that's what I
That's
want
you.
people to think
Yeah.
of, and that's me,
Yeah.
movement, right? Like all that stuff. Okay. And I was a gymnastics coach my entire life. And I also worked right before I left to Spain. I worked for a staffing company for our home care physical therapy and occupational therapy, which makes sense because at that time I was going to school for occupational therapy, right?
Hmm.
Why I studied gut and neurodevelopment. That was what I wanted to do at that time. I wanted to be an occupational therapist for pediatrics, helping kids that had a birth accident or a labor accident, and things happen with their brain, their nervous system, things like that, their development, and or children with ADHD, Asperger's, OCD, right? Like things of this nature, right? That was what I wanted to do. And so I worked for this company. When I came back to the States, the same people hired me back. I was gone for 2 years and I was like, I'm back.
Hi.
Um, which also it just goes to say, like, just be honest and just be real. And
Hmm.
also, like, if you don't need to go full on in your business. You don't need to. You don't need to go all in.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
You can work part-time or you can even work full-time while you are building up your business.
Three nursing jobs
Boom.
for
Like actually, I
3
think
years.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think psychologically, I even think it's better, to be
Oh,
honest.
100%. I can't imagine that it would be so hard to just hope that it goes well. Because
Yeah.
the reality is this is not overnight. No matter what anyone
No.
tells you, that's bullshit. It's not overnight. It's just
Yep.
not.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So I got my two jobs back and I was super, super pregnant. I was super, super pregnant, working two jobs. And because the immigration really messed up. My husband was supposed to have the right to work right away, and
Of
they lost his file.
course they did.
Thank God. Thank God. Obviously, we came here legally, obviously. But we have like the visa stamp and we have record that like my husband is here. Thank God he had to carry the bulk of papers for over a year. Because
Hmm.
God forbid, like, something happens at his work or he's driving or something, like
Yeah.
he has the right to do that. And so they messed up. And because of that, my husband had to work under the table, but he couldn't even work that many hours and couldn't make that much because how are you going to do that? Because hello, taxes, right?
Yeah.
So I worked 3 jobs. I ended up getting a like a waitress job, pregnant, super, super pregnant. So I worked 3 jobs and that's that background. So like when you guys are like hearing this, when you're hearing this episode and like you just listen to this first part, like we're coming from a lot of struggle of like income and money and worry, right? Being pregnant and working 3 jobs and your husband can't technically work and the amount that he does work is nothing, it's just to help a little bit, do what he
Yeah.
needs to do. It was really, really rough. And then the apartment that we were living in got bed bugs. So we had to move out of there, and I was eight and a
Mhm.
half months pregnant.
Lovely.
So it was a crazy first year coming back to the States. I do not recommend it. I do not recommend it.
No, no, for so many reasons, no.
For so many reasons, even now more than ever, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Don't come
don't
here.
do it. Just don't do
Don't come.
that.
And so that was our first year. Ellie was born and then the pandemic hit, right? And so it was a really big shift for us in income and all these things because
Mhm.
we just got here and then the pandemic hit and then people were staying home. So we're like, this isn't for us. Plus, we had a lot of family drama that then we saw a lot of our family members. Unfortunately and fortunately, we saw a lot of the real colors of people. The people that we thought we originally came to the US for our family. We did not
Yeah,
come
exactly.
economically. We didn't come because quote unquote America, the propaganda so we literally came because we were like, well, if we're starting a family, then
Yeah,
we want our kids,
be
hopefully,
around
at that time
family.
we are like, hopefully kids,
Yeah,
to know their grandparents and stuff like that. And that did not happen. It
yeah.
did not happen. And so during that time, we were like, we need to do something to where we build sustainability to where we're able to have a flexible life.
Hmm.
We did the Bitcoin thing. That took us back 50 steps.
Yeah,
Cool. And then I was like, well, I need to start working again. And I could not work at a physical place because who's gonna, I cannot afford daycare. I couldn't.
yeah,
If I got my job back, which I could have, I could have gotten my job back after I gave birth to Ellie, right? I did go back to work after that, right? Like I said, then I gave birth to our son and then the pandemic hit and then we stayed home, right? So it was
hmm,
during this time that during the pandemic that I was like, do I want to keep my job back? Like, do I want to get my job back? What do I do type of thing?
hmm.
Because now I have a child and it's expensive, right? Daycare is expensive, all these things are expensive. And so um, we were at that time also planning our wedding, and we had to obviously cancel our wedding, all this stuff. Okay. And so we decided to have a second child, and we were like, okay, cool. Are we like sociopaths? Like, we're in such
Sure
deep
about this.
crap.
Yeah.
Like, are we sure about this?
Hmm.
And during the pandemic, so many people, just like so many other people, right? Like, okay, I'm going to start an online business. I'm going to start a side business. So many
Hmm.
people. My husband was actually the one that found that Harvard was running certifications for like nutrition, based on
Hmm.
studies and all this stuff. And what's funny is that he found this because he was trying to study Bitcoins and like crypto.
Of
And
course
he
he
found
was.
this. And he found this instead.
Yeah.
And he goes, Jetta, this is your thing. This is your thing. Like you could do this. So I signed up for it. They were free. Harvard was
Yeah.
running free certifications. I was like, let's do it. So I
Yeah.
started doing them and I was like, why don't I just do like an actual program? Right? Like,
Yeah.
why don't I just do it? So I did an actual program. It was what, 9 months long? Nine
Hmm.
months long. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. And I finally got the certification in the mail. Our daughter was only 4 months
With his
old.
Bitcoin certification.
Definitely not.
Did he get one? I just need to know.
No.
Oh, good. Good. You vetoed that? You were like, let's not
Vito.
go down that road again.
Yeah, we vetoed that idea completely. Thank God. Thank God too, right? Because some people are like, I'm like, you know,
No. No.
yeah, no. Again, know when to have conviction, when to say yes and when to say no, right? So I
That
was
was a time to
like,
say no.
yeah, seriously, right? Because okay, $20,000
No.
for many, that's a lot. For a
Yeah.
few, that's like nothing. For
Yeah.
us,
But
it
like,
was our savings.
yeah, it was your entire life.
It was our entire life.
I yeah. Oh my God. No more.
So I was like, okay. I was like, but we do have to, like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I do have to hire a mentor. I do have to
Yeah.
do these things because this is such a different ball game, you know?
Yeah.
The whole thing of like, not happening overnight, it's not even happening now. We're 3 years in. But like I said, success is in the eye of the beholder. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for my business and that my
Hmm.
husband was like, this is you. You could do this.
Yeah.
And I know that at first, maybe we're going to lose money. I know at first, this is what's going to happen. But you know what? Like, maybe you should try it. If it doesn't work
Yeah.
out, we said, in the first year, if you don't end in a plus after you do taxes, after you do that, if you don't end in a plus, we stop first year. And the beauty of that is that like how many businesses do they end in the red, as we say, in the negative, right? Their first year in business. Right. And a
I
lot
did.
of people,
I did not end in a plus. I definitely lost money my first year.
yeah, yeah.
I'll say that.
My first year, I ended in a plus, but by like very, very little. I think actually
Yeah.
it was like $200 or $300. And I
Yeah.
was like, we're really betting our life
Woo!
on 200,
We
hundred,
did
three
it.
hundred dollars
We did it.
I was like, okay, cool. Mind you, the plus, like the amount that I invested in my first year was around like
Yeah.
13,000, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So that's the amount that I made, guys. Just do the math. My first year in business, I made like 1,300 or $13,200.
Hmm.
Like that's not even part-time salary. That's the,
Yep.
you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so I was like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna refine it. We're gonna continue tweaking it. We're gonna
Yep.
continue doing it. Had I not, for my own conviction and for always slowly tweaking how I want to serve my people, my kids grew obviously from 4 months to now being almost 4 years old, right? Like
Hmm.
the tweaks that you have to make in being very, very diligent in
Hmm.
tweaking, right? And my my obsession with helping people.
Yeah.
What is that thing of like, I'm obsessed, but I think it's healthy because not hurting anybody, right? Like
Yeah.
that little sound
Yeah.
on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that. And
Yeah.
so when again, it just kind of like comes full circle is that it's helped me grow as a person, as a mom,
Hmm.
as just the things and on who you are and who you're like supposed to be in life, and all this stuff. Entrepreneurship is not for the weak,
Yeah.
but it is such a beautiful journey, and I'm
Mhm.
thankful every single day
Yeah.
that I get to be with my kids and I get to help people. Oh, I can have my cake and eat it too, girl. I'm in, but I need
Yeah.
to do it. I don't. What is the saying? It's taking you longer because you're not. What is it? What is it?
Scamming people.
You're not scamming people. You're not lying to people. You're not, right? Like it's taking you
Yeah.
longer. And you know what? Just like health, it does take a long time when you're
Mhm.
actually doing the
Doing it
right
right.
hard thing.
Hmm. And it's true. It's true.
Yep. So yeah, that was the thing. I was like, yeah. I feel like we didn't talk about the like where I started from, but like that's where I started. We were
No.
suffering. We weren't
Mhm.
we weren't struggling. We were suffering.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
That's I feel you there. I know. Well, and I mean, you know what I went through. I mean,
Mhm.
we and I've only like just been able to talk about this more now, but we literally almost had to file bankruptcy.
Correct.
Like
Yeah. Yep.
because of how much lawyer bills we had to pay, like insane.
Yep.
It's not, you know,
Yeah.
I could say so much on that.
I'm excited, Tara. I know this is a podcast, but like as just like two women talking, not even business owners,
Mhm.
not even moms, but like I as just a woman that you have dealt with so much, I think this is also the thing about who you are as a person and why you are so good and you're so diligent in what you do is because you've had so many things happen as you were
Mhm.
continuously building a business that you're like, this has to work out.
Mhm.
And I refuse. That's the thing, Tara, is you stood so true to who you are. Our mentor said crap about you, right? Because you show I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, because I didn't even believe it. I didn't even believe it. I was like, no,
Yeah.
Tara. Like, what do you mean she's not answering to your I was like, this is great. No, she really wasn't answering to you, right? And the thing about that is like there's always bad mentors all the time. Like just like how always there's like clients who have challenges with showing
Yeah.
up for themselves. Always, all the time. Again, we're human, we're not robot. But the whole point about that is that you just stood so firm in who you are, in your beliefs, in your values. You're like, no, like this is going to work because A, you knew that especially your son and your daughter, so especially your kids, you're like, this has to work out and it
Yeah.
has to work out my way.
Yep.
And that to me is like, I'm applauding you, girlfriend.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, and it's so true. And it's also why I just feel so strongly against all of the like scammy shit online and all of the
Exactly.
bullshit is because it's yeah, no.
Exactly. That's the thing is like, okay, why is someone like you ever stop to think, okay, like this girl, maybe you don't even know who Tara is, right? Like maybe you just saw her reels. Maybe you just saw one of her posts on like your For You page or whatever. And
Hmm.
it's like, do you ever stop to think why someone feels this gung ho? Like how I feel about supplements and pills. You ever stop to think, why do people feel this gung ho?
Hmm.
Why do people feel so gung ho about, the anti-vaxxers? Why do they feel like that? Like to me, we live in a world where it's like no one's right or wrong. It's just, do you align in the values and the morals? Do you align?
Yeah.
That's what's going to work out for you.
Hmm.
Because you can always, I see all the like our former mentors.
Hmm.
I see them
Yes.
and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I
yeah,
don't.
they really think in their head that this is okay. They
I
really
don't see
do.
that because I don't follow them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, then I can
And
just
they
get updates from you.
Yeah, exactly. So they really think the stuff is okay. They really think the stuff
Hmm.
is, and it's like, man, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? I don't want to judge. Like, if you think you do you, boo boo,
You do
but
you.
I ain't doing that anymore,
Nope. Hmm.
or I ain't doing that with you, I should say, because it's just,
Definitely no.
again, no. When you put that head on your pillow tonight,
Yep.
are you at peace? If the answer is yes, you are successful. Period. Mic
Yep.
drop.
Yep. You're doing it how you want.
You're doing it how you want while also serving people.
Yeah.
Also serving people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I feel like this has been such a good conversation and just like just a really good conversation about like so many things in general, just like what people actually need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Really.
Thank you. Yeah, on my podcast, obviously, I don't talk about like business stuff because that's not
Yeah.
what I do. Not what
Yeah.
I do. That's what we have mentors for. I am not a pro in anything business related. Did you just hear my story? Did you just
Oh,
hear it?
yeah.
But I am excited in, moving to Romania and all that stuff. And I am
Hmm.
excited that I do have a sustainable business and a successful business to what it means to be with my family and
Yeah.
travel and do the things that we have so long really craved for and praying
Hmm.
for. Like those things in our lives is we're not meant for this American life where it's go, 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 go. We're not.
Yeah.
And we like the slow pace. We like the, let's go, on a plane or let's go do, on a train, hop on a train and go from here to like Bulgaria or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of life that we would like to have. And
Mhm.
it's just not for us. So it's like go where you feel pulled to, if you will. But again, to me, it's just I don't know. We may never know where we would be and what we would be doing the beginning of 2025 had it not been saying yes to opening up a practice.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important, especially right now, for that freedom and that control over really what you want to do in your life.
Yep. And that goes for everybody listening. The
Yeah.
world is a crazy place. We don't need more crazy.
No,
We
please,
don't
for
need
the
more
love of
crazy.
God.
Just
No.
just serve people
Yeah.
full-heartedly.
Yeah.
Spend time with your babies, hug your babies,
Yeah.
kiss your man. You know what I mean? Like, you walk through a park holding hands. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Yeah.
thing, that's the vibe. Get the exterior of the corners of your puzzle. Get that super, solid, and then put the other pieces in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just about finding your success.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you so much for having me here. And I absolutely love this conversation. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram, Getas.digest. So Getas dot digest, Digest. And that's the same for my podcast. I'm not fancy with names. Jetta's Digest is
Perfect.
my Instagram handle. Jetta's Digest Podcast is the name of my podcast. I talk about all things wellness, chronic illness, and data. I recently actually just aired a podcast, two really, really big and important podcasts. When I say big, don't think like, oh my God, 1 million downloads. Again, success is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
It's big because it's so important to talk about fasting. So that was a one that I think people need to hear is fasting
Yep.
and data-based information on long-term COVID, the vaccination of COVID,
Mhm.
and neuro COVID. So definitely go check those out.
Yeah.
And also, I have my Facebook group. My Facebook group is like a hidden gem in Facebook.
Hmm.
I love it. It has like 300 and some people, but it's so fun and it's
So
so
good.
interactive because people are asking questions and it's people asking so many it's like the questions not only are they good, but it's like, oh, this totally needs to be talked about type of thing.
Mhm.
You think people don't have these questions. You're like, oh my God, I have so much gas. I don't need to ask that. My community is
Yeah,
like, I
it's
have
just
gas.
me.
It smells terrible. Please
Yeah.
tell me what to do. And I'm like, yes. Yes,
We
absolutely.
will address this here. Yeah.
People address this here, so I love it. And that Facebook group is called Jetta's Gut Health. Jetta's Digest, for some reason, was not attainable. I don't know. But Jetta's Gut Health is the name of my Facebook group. And then also, if you like to read and if you're into like blog post, I also have a Substack. Substack is definitely my jam. If you cannot tell, I enjoy talking. More than talking, though, I enjoy writing and reading. And Substack is kind of like the cozy little corner of wellness professionals. There's no influencers on there. We are all professionals on there.
Yeah,
And it helps, like, where you see like the random data of like, here's the correlation between like glycine and liver health, for example, right?
yeah,
And you're like, why haven't I seen this before?
exactly.
It's because it's coming from Substack, and the person
Yep,
that posted it is actually a professional, and they actually got it from like their class or from a study that they're doing a
yeah,
paper on, stuff like that, right? So it's non-biased information. And like I said, it's kind of like the cozy vibe, the cozy little corner in a library that it's like full of outcast and black sheeps.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like Breakfast Club, but like I'm gosh, what was the name of that character? The one that was like with the leather jacket and like the what was his name?
Oh, I can't remember, but I know who you're talking about.
That's Substack. Like that's the
Yeah,
character at Substack. Like we're all just black sheep. We're all just kind of going against the grain, but
yeah,
it's so wonderful because it really lets there is no algorithm to it.
yeah.
And
No,
Substack is also a great way that if you enjoy my Substack, you can subscribe and you can actually you don't have to get the Substack app. You can subscribe and you can actually get all my blog posts in your email. So that's what's beautiful about it. We all saw how TikTok was banned for not even 3 hours, okay? But that stuff is so clear to me that like we
hmm,
cannot depend on social media. We
nope.
need to go on multiple things, right? Again, success is in the eye of the beholder. And so I was like, yeah, and I started Substack before this TikTok ban before that. But
Yeah,
nonetheless, that's what Substack is. So if you're not on social media, but you like reading blog posts, stuff like that, or you don't want to get sucked into, the scrolling of
yeah.
social media, go check out Substack. It's my name, Jetta Barbu. I think there's a handle, and I think it is Jetta's Digest, like Jetta's Digest full, not a dot. Um,
Okay.
but
Well, you
anyways,
can
yeah,
send me
that's
the
where you can
link
find
and I
me.
can link it. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But anyways, yeah, that's that.
amazing. Well, I will link the things so that people can go and connect with you and check everything out. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. We'll chat and thank you guys for listening.
Yes, this has been absolutely amazing. And I will leave you with go after everything that you fucking want and be unapologetic about it.